I felt trapped. I always felt trapped. We would see like cups and like plates fly out of the cupboards. My nails started to fall off. I went like this and my whole nail came off. I kind of became this like closed off, sheltered shell of myself. I lived so isolated, so closed off from ever sharing anything to anyone, and just always living in fear. Hi, I'm Carla. I'm going to share my story with you. So, I've been following the Lord now for about a year, almost 2 years, a year and 8 months. I was baptized last year in January, and honestly, my walk with the Lord has been a lot of different things. It's not just been one time that the Lord encountered me. It's been a lot of multiple experiences or things that I've gone through that have led me to where I'm at now. I am an immigrant. Well, a citizen now. I became a citizen this year. I was born in Mexico. I never met my dad. That whole background is just very, I feel like I've always had like that kind of like fatherless issue. We came from Mexico when I was I think I was in kindergarten, or I was like 3 years old. I can't really remember. But we came out here, and then my mom got with my stepdad, and then that's how like I was brought up. I was raised with a stepdad and with my mom, and then my older sister and my younger brother. Me and my sister have the same dad, and then my little brother is from my stepdad. Growing up, me and my stepdad had a great relationship, so I kind of had a dad, kind of didn't have a dad. He wasn't there for me emotionally. He was just there for me like physically, and that was that. When I was 6 years old, we finally moved in with my stepdad. And my room, I had a step cousin that sexually molested me. And from the moment that he did that, I kind of became this like closed off, sheltered shell of myself. Although I never presented it out like to people, that was who I was internally. Anything happened to me, I would internalize it and I would keep it inside of myself, and I would never share. I never shared anything with anyone beginning from that moment. Or maybe earlier on, I don't really remember ever being a person to share anything to anyone. From that moment, I feel like that's when the enemy like sank his nails into my skin. From that moment of being molested from that step cousin, because I became, as a kid, like I can remember from age 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way above, I was masturbating by myself, like to myself. And I was this kid who was so sexually active. I remember showing one of my cousins how to masturbate. And it was just like, it's so crazy looking back at that, because I'm like, I was just a kid. I was just a kid who was masturbating, who was being sexually active, but was doing all of this in like behind closed doors, not telling anyone about it. And yeah, that's how I kind of lived my whole childhood. I lived so isolated, so closed off from ever sharing anything to anyone, and just always living in fear. Come like age of 13, I have my first seizure. I have a seizure, and my mom gets so freaked out, and she's just like, what is going on? She calls the ambulance. I get in the ambulance, I go to the hospital, and they basically say that it's just stress related. And that we kind of like put it in the back of our minds, and like nothing really happens from that point on. And these seizures came with something prior. They came with like a muscle spasm in the jaw. So every single time that I would feel that muscle spasm in my jaw, I would boom correlate it to a seizure. And I didn't have a seizure from like, I didn't have one at 14 or at 15, and then at 16 I get another seizure. And these muscle spasms like are coming and going nonstop for like sometimes I'd get it once a month, twice a month, 3 times a month, 4 times a month, but no one would know. Like only my parents knew, only my siblings knew, because I didn't know what it was, and I was just scared of it. And I kind of just felt like I felt trapped. I always felt trapped within myself. So come age of 16, we go to Kaiser and we do like a bunch of epilepsy tests. They like to put all these, because they thought that I was epileptic. And they do all these tests and nothing comes back like positive. They just say that I'm super stressed and that I need to not drink caffeine. I was 16 years old. I wasn't drinking any caffeine. But yeah, at the time that all that was happening, 16 was a really rough age for me, because 16 years old, that's when I lost my virginity. And because I was someone who was already so sexually active, it really didn't mean anything to me. And my first boyfriend, my first relationship in general, was very toxic. Like, this man was obsessed with sex, and we would have sex like 7 times in like a time, you know? And for me, it was that was like my entryway to sex, to relationship. And because I was masturbating, because I would watch porn like prior to all this first relationship, it was normal to me. I was like, oh yeah, this is how you have sex. Like, this is what it is, you know? And I am in that relationship from the age of 16 to 18. And I'm experiencing like these muscle spasms, the seizures, and I'm just like, I'm just so confused in life, but I'm just going, and I'm not telling anyone, I'm just doing it. I'm in this relationship. I am like crying almost every day. I remember one time around like the age of 16 or 17, I just wanted to take all these pills, and I forgot what they were, but I took like 5, thinking that I was gonna die doing it. So dramatic, but I took 5 and like nothing happened. I just went to sleep, and I was like, okay, well, I'm never doing that again. That's stupid. And then that's when I started to go to the gym, because I started to play sports. I started to just like do all these things that made me feel better. I would take out like my trauma, I guess you can say, or my frustration, my anxiety, my fear. I would take it out on working out, on sports. So I kind of went that way, and I started to feel a lot better, but it was almost like I was just masking something deeper, and I was using physical activity to do it. Come to the age of 18, I finally graduated high school. But in high school, I was supposed to go play volleyball in Cal State Fullerton, and something happened between me and my stepdad, and he got really upset at me, and he didn't let me go out there and play. And that's when I fell into this deep depression. I was like, how are you taking that away from me? All these things. I was just an angry person at life. I was angry at absolutely everything, but I never projected that onto anyone. I kind of just like, everyone always saw me and they thought I was okay. And I didn't go end up playing volleyball out there, and that's when I started to smoke. I started to smoke really heavy. I was high all day, every day. There was not a day that I was not high. And then I was going to community college at the time. I started waitressing. I was a server at the time, and that was kind of my life. I was just working, going to school. I ended up dropping out of school because I didn't know what the heck I wanted to do. I go into this new relationship, and I'm waitressing at the time. So things are changing for me, and things are getting slightly better because I just have a new relationship, and I'm, away from my home, which to me, like, my house was a lot for me because I always felt so much pressure and so much, I don't know, like, I just felt like no one was really ever there for me because they never asked me about anything. It was always like, you're doing this wrong, you're not this, you're XYZ, like all these things, very critical. And I get into this new relationship, and honestly, from the age of 18 to the age of, 24, I'm just coasting. I end up moving in with that relationship. We end up like living together, and it's not up until 2021 that I start to feel very depressed, like extremely depressed, and more than I ever felt ever. And I couldn't know what to correlate it to, but I started to experience things like in our apartment. We started to experience like supernatural things. His background was his mom came from some kind of like, I know that there was like witchcraft in his mom's like line, and then his dad was a pastor. So he had 2 like very different, but they were divorced, but that's how he grew up. He grew up always telling me that he experienced like supernatural things. So we started to experience it in our apartment. Like We would hear footsteps outside of the door. We would like see like cups and like plates fly out of the cupboards, and we would laugh about it. I would laugh about it. He would laugh about it because it was normal to him. And to me, I grew up loving like horror movies and like all of that. I loved it. So it was fun to me, you know? Then I feel like it started to almost, I don't know what you call it, but I felt like it started to attach itself onto me because I started to get sick every single month. I was physically like sick with a cold, with a flu. My nails started to fall off, like physically fall off, like my nails. I went like this and my whole nail came off. My whole face was like this weird acne just came up all over my face. And I just remember feeling super, super low. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, it's like my body was deteriorating and I had no idea what was going on. So that went on for about like 6 months. And one day, I don't know why, I don't know who prayed for me. Someone was praying for me, but I went into my car and I started talking to God. I just started to like have a conversation with him. I just started to say, like, all I remember that I would ask him for was wisdom and guidance because I just felt extremely lost. I felt lost my whole life, you know, like I always just felt like I never knew what I was doing and why I was doing it. So I just asked him for wisdom and guidance. And those conversations lasted about like 4 to 5 months. I didn't tell anyone I was doing it. I would get up, talk to God in my car, and then I would go on about my day. And then that led me to breaking up with that boyfriend, moving back in with my parents. And then 3 months passed by and I'm in another relationship. And this relationship was a lot different just because I don't even know how to describe it. Like, it was something that I wanted, but it wasn't anything like I expected it to be. And it was a lot of testing. It was a lot of kind of like realization of myself and who I am, but in the worst way possible. Kind of like what my stepdad was to me, but times 10. It was just bad. It was just horrible. Anyways, that whole relationship went on for about like a year, and then we took a break. But in that time that I was in that relationship, I started going to church with him and his family. I would go to Water of Life, and I remember going to church high all the time because I was high all the time. But I never felt bad. I never felt like I was doing anything wrong. I was just in the presence, right? And then I remember this one time during worship, I felt like I was gonna pass out. I was like, what is going on? That was the first time I think that I ever felt like Holy Spirit. I grabbed the chair in front of me and I'm like, I'm not saying anything again, because I'm this type of person who doesn't say absolutely anything that she's thinking, that she's feeling. She's just internalizing, and that's just who I am. And that goes on for about a year. I'm like on and off with this relationship. There's like a lot of problems. So I'm like, deuces, I don't want to deal with the problems. But in those moments that we would not be together, I would go like seek someone else, you know, to fulfill that comfort. Because it was comfort to me, right? It was something that I always lacked, was like a male relationship or a male figure to just like lead me or to feel comforted by, all those things. Get to last year, 2024, January of 2024, I just signed up to get baptized in November of 2023. And I don't know why I signed up to get baptized. It was just like, do it. So I did it. And then I got baptized in 2024 of January, 27th of January 2024. And 2 weeks leading up to my baptism, I felt conviction for the first time. I never felt any sort of conviction ever towards anything that I did. Like I could do someone wrong and I would be totally fine. But 2 weeks leading up to me getting baptized, I felt conviction of telling my boyfriend at the time that I had done what I have done in the moments that we had a break, right? That I went and I had sex with another person, and that I went and I entertained someone else while we were separated on a break. So that was like eating at me. Like God used, and it's so crazy because I like puzzled it all back together, and like God used what the enemy intended for evil in the beginning with like sexual sin, And he used that to bring him glory and to take me out of that. Like, that's what he used, because that's what destructed me, right? Like, that's what destroyed me as a kid, as 6-year-old. Sexual sin is what destroyed me, but God used that sexual sin to bring me out. And I was just like, wow, when I like got that revelation, I was like, God, you're so good. And it was so crazy because leading up to getting baptized, our relationship was getting so much better. So I was like, God, no, like there's no way. I'm not going to tell him. I'm not going to do any of this. I'm just going to hold on to it. I repent. I'm sorry. I know where repentance is now. And like, let me just go on about my life now. Like, let me just get baptized. You know, I'm already doing this. It's a big deal. My family was so confused. They didn't want me to, they were just like, I think for the most part, they were confused. But they didn't like the fact that I was getting baptized. And I invited my mom, my dad, my sister, my brother, some friends, my ex at the time. He was like recording me with the camera. And it's crazy because I'm like, dude, like this man essentially was the one who kind of like led me to this relationship with the Lord. And he's the one who's been trying to tell me all these things, but I just have not, I had blinders that I couldn't hear any of the things that he was saying ever. You know, I just felt super like attacked every single time that he would try and tell me something. And here he is like recording me getting baptized. And I'm like, in my heart, the only thing that I want to do is just tell him that like I did him wrong. And anyways, I get baptized, and at the end of like the baptism, we go out to eat. And my mom doesn't look at me, like she's kind of like in the corner tucked away. And then my stepdad is at the table with his AirPods on, looking at his phone the entire time. And my heart is just like shattered. I'm like, dude, like you guys don't understand. Like I'm trying to do something good, you know? They just didn't understand, but I felt shame, I felt guilt. I just felt bad. The night of my baptism, I got drunk. I went back to my ex's house. We were in the jacuzzi and we just got drunk. That was the night. That was the day of my baptism. Then 2 weeks after that, come Valentine's Day, I tell him on Valentine's Day. Yeah, I know it was so bad. It was so bad, but it was just like, it came out in the conversation and then I couldn't lie anymore. Like I couldn't like say what I wanted to say because it was like God speaking for me instead of me speaking for myself. So I end up telling him, and then we end up talking about it, and it's like this big thing. Like he just starts like shaming me, all these things, like attacking me, but not physically, just vocally, right? And I'm just taking it. I'm taking it because I'm like, like the Lord has given me grace, has given me mercy, has given me love. He's shown me what like having grace for someone is. So I'm just going to take it. I'm just going to take it. You can tell me anything that you want. It hurts. It sucks. But I'm trying to learn how to like maneuver it, right? And a month after that, I start going to counseling for the first time. And in counseling, it was Christian counseling. So he would like let the Holy Spirit lead. And it was something crazy to me. Like I never had community when I first got baptized. I never had like people around me, but I had my counselor, and that was literally all I needed at the time. He truly like took everything that was inside of me and like took it out and like redeemed my life. Well, obviously God redeemed my life, right? But God used him to take all of that out of me to then be like the person that I am now. Like I could just share absolutely anything with anyone, and there's nothing that is making me feel bad about it, right? So went February, March, April, May, June, July, August, went 7 months in no community, going to church by myself, dealing with this relationship, like dealing with him like attacking me almost every day, calling me all the names. And then there was some really good days, and then there was some really bad days. He should have left me, I should have left him, but there was no strength in that. Come August, we have this phone call. And on this phone call, we both agree to break up. And we're like, cool, like, let's break up, awesome. It was like a really long phone call, but we both came to terms that we were not good for each other in the relationship. End the phone call, and then God's like, take a pregnancy test. And I'm like, okay. I like prolonged it all day. I was changing my air filter in my car. I started to change the like soil of my plants because I was just avoiding it. And then I'm like, God's like, take the pregnancy test. And I'm like, no. So I go and I take the pregnancy test and it's positive. And my heart literally sank to my butt. Like I was like, dude, what the heck? Like we just broke up. This is what we were gonna do. And now I'm pregnant. So I call him and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna be there because he was gonna drop off all my stuff that I had at his house. And I'm like, no, come here now. Like, I don't care about my stuff. Like, I need to talk to you right now. And he comes and then I go in the car and then I show him the pregnancy test and I just start breaking down and then he starts breaking down and he starts breaking down, but in a happy way. Like he's happy. And I'm like terrified. And he's like, no, this is good. This is good. Like, it'll be okay. We'll work it out. Like, I've wanted nothing besides being a dad, like my whole life. And I'm like, cool. Like me too. Like I always wanted to be a mom. But I just felt so uneasy because I was like, no, like it can't just change like that. Like the way you were talking to me, the way you felt about me, like it doesn't change because I'm pregnant, you know? You can lie to yourself all you want, but we went like that for about 4 weeks. So when I found out I was pregnant, I was 6 weeks, or five or 6 weeks. And then we went kind of like week by week, taking it in ourselves. And then by like week 3, he wanted to tell his mom, he wanted to tell his dad, he wanted to tell his sister, aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa, like he wanted to tell everyone. And I'm like, in my own self, I knew that like I wanted to wait because I wanted to make sure that because it didn't feel real. Like I saw the pregnancy test all the time because I took so many. I took like 10 pregnancy tests and they always said pregnant. And I just like, I would see the pregnant, but I would not like, I didn't feel like I was pregnant, you know? Like I felt it, but I didn't feel it at the same time. And then we started going to counseling together. And one time after counseling, I started bleeding. And then we go into Kaiser to check it out. And they basically told me that it could be a miscarriage or it could just be like it could just be something wrong, or it could be too early, or all of these things. So they basically had me like bedridden for a week, not doing anything, taking my HCG levels every other day. So I was doing that for a week, and then it ended up turning out that I miscarried. And I remember the day that I found out that I miscarried, we went back to his house, and he completely just like clocked out. Like he was unavailable to talk to like vent to anything. And I was just kind of like left with the miscarriage. So the day that I found out that I miscarried, he was unavailable and I was just kind of left with what the heck am I gonna do now? That night was crazy. Like we ended up getting in like a really, really big argument, and he ended up sleeping in the bathroom, and then I slept in his room. And then that morning, I was just like weeping on his floor for like 2 hours, looking at like the pregnancy books that I bought because I was just so sad. And I couldn't speak to anyone. There was no one to speak to. So I remember grabbing my stuff, leaving his house, and then I went to Sunday service because it was a Sunday morning. I went to Sunday service and I just sat all the way at the top, just crying the whole service. And then after that service, I went into the bookstore and I bought this book. And it's called Emotionally Healthy Spirituality. It's a really good book. And I just started reading it that day. And we ended up breaking up that next day. And then I want to say 2 days after that, I went on this trip to Joshua Tree. I wanted to just leave. I wanted to isolate myself. I wanted to fast. I wanted to just be away and be by myself and cry and like cry out to God. So I went out to Joshua Tree. I stayed out there for 3 days. I did like a whole fast. I was just drinking bone broth. I really didn't know how to fast. So I just thought if I just drink bone broth, I think that should be technically a fast. I didn't know what I was doing. And then I went out to Joshua Tree, and that whole time out there, I just felt God's like presence on me for the first time. I never felt, the first night I was in the jacuzzi and I got drunk. And then after getting out of the jacuzzi, I went into the restroom and I just like sobbed. I sobbed so hard. It felt like a deliverance kind of sob, because now I understood like I understood what deliverance was. And that's what it felt like. I felt like I experienced deliverance on my own in Joshua Tree. And then that whole trip out there was just so good. There is this verse, I think it's 2 Corinthians 7:8-11. And it just talks about, like, I don't want to butcher it because I don't know it by heart. I should know it by heart, but just it's Paul writing the letter, and he's just saying, like, I'm not sorry that I sent that severe letter to you, because it brought you to true repentance. Like, it was hard to swallow. It was hard to swallow that pill at first, but it's what led you to fully walk into this walk with God. So I just read that verse and it just like stuck to my heart, and I just started bawling, and it was such a good trip. And then coming back from that trip, I then had this one friend, her name's Naomi, and she was like, ever since I got baptized, she was always there. She was always bugging me. She was always like, hey, like, are you good? How's your walk? How are you doing? How's this? How's that? And I would kind of like push her to the side, because I was super used to just pushing people to the side, because I never thought that anyone wanted to actually help me, right? Like I was just so used to being disposable, I guess you could say. But coming back from Joshua Tree, she invited me to a Bible study. And from that Bible study, it was just like an abundance. That was last year in September, like ends of September, that I started the Bible study. And from that moment, I just never stopped with community. I just started to like pour myself into every single crack and crevice that I could, like, of my day and my time. I just started to like really press in with God. I went to that Bible study, and then Nat at HTC, she came up to me and she was just like, I just feel like the Lord wants you to have community, so he put it on my heart to come up to you, so I came up to you. And it was just so crazy, because it was just like one thing after another that just led me into this like new walk with community, with actual community, that like really helped me, shaped me, allowed me to understand so many things, that just gave me this fire, right? A fire that like I always had from the moment that I got baptized, but I just didn't understand it. I didn't understand what that fire was. I didn't understand what to do with it, but I never gave up. Like, I never stopped seeking God, even though I didn't know what God was, but it was a feeling, right? Like, it was a feeling like this is the right thing to do. Although every single person in your life is against you, is against the things that you're doing, because no one was supporting me. Not a single person in my life was supporting me. Everyone thought I was crazy. My family thought I was crazy. My old friends, we just kind of like fell off because I didn't want to go out anymore. So it was just a very isolating moment in that whole, all of last year up until the end of it. But God just really showed me like, look, I took everything away. I took the baby away, the relationship away. His mom was like my mentor, so that was taken away. Family relationships were taken away. Friendships were taken away. Jobs were taken away because I was making all of my money off of Instagram. My partnerships were taken away. Everything was just like getting snatched. And God was like, all you needed was me. And like, this is how I was going to show you, because you're so hard-headed. You're not going to listen. So I had to take absolutely everything away from you in order for you to realize like the only thing that you need is me. And you've had this hole of a father figure in your life, your whole life. I never met my dad. I forgot to mention that. But I always sought that out, right? Like, I always sought out a father figure. And when I came to the Lord, when I felt the Lord in Joshua Tree for the first time, like that, I just really felt like I had a dad with me. Like, I felt like there was someone who was leading me, who was telling me like, this is okay, this is the right thing to do. I just felt finally seen. And although I wasn't seen physically in person, and I didn't get that validation, right? Because I guess that's what I always sought out after. I sought out after like validation just from a person. I always needed that to kind of like move forward. And when I first felt like the validation from the Lord, I was like, oh yeah, I don't need anything else. I don't need anything or anyone else. Although I want someone, I want people, I really don't need them. So I really stopped caring what anyone had to say. I started to be a lot more bold in my family. And honestly, I've seen all of the plants that I've planted within my family, I'm starting to see it now. Just like I'm starting to see the harvest from it. The dynamic in my family changed a lot. No one else has been saved yet, but I know that they will. I know that they will be saved. I know that they will all come to the Lord. My mom has a good relationship with the Lord, but she grew up Catholic, so it's kind of like it's a whole different thing. But yeah, I'm this changed person because I just always allowed myself to commit to continually seek what I felt at the beginning. Like I knew that there was more, and I just never felt comfortable sitting and remaining in something. I always wanted to know more and more and more and more. And I take it back all the way to my first conversation that I had with the Lord, and I was like, give me wisdom, give me guidance. And he's done nothing but that from the moment I first started talking to him to now. And he has me going back to school, and now I want to be a therapist. I want to be a Christian counselor. And then I'm going to school of ministry, and I'm like 5 days out of my week are some kind of Bible study, school, church, serving. Like my whole life is the Lord, and I'm just like super excited for whatever is next to come. I feel like he's really calling me into leadership, and I don't know what that looks like yet, but anything that he throws at me, that he tells me to do, I'm like, okay, let's do it, let's go. I don't know what it's gonna look like, but I'm stepping into it. So yeah, that's my story. If I had a chance to see Carla before she knew the Lord, I would first of all hug her. I would just hug her. I would hug her so tightly, and I would just tell her that everything's going to be okay, and that all that she needs, all the answers that she's ever seeking or stuff that she's felt so hurt from, the Lord will provide. I would say that's something that the Lord did so quickly. That's why I want to be a counselor, because counseling truly changed my life. Like, I know the Lord changed my life. He's above all. He's the one who led everything. He's the one who ordained everything. But counseling, it just really brought up everything in such a way that if I didn't have it, because I see people now, right? And I tell people and I talk to people, and I'm like, how have you been in your walk for 5 years and you're bitter at this person? Like, how do you have so much hate in your heart? Like like it's something that the Lord just really made easy for me. And I guess the hardest person for me was my stepdad, because there was just so much resentment there. And my mom, there was just a lot of resentment because there was never any communication. There was never any talk about anything that happened in my family. It was kind of like swept under the rug and forgotten about. But, things are never forgotten about. Things are just kind of like held in, and then there's a build of anger, frustration, resentment, etc. So the Lord really, like with that step cousin, that was like easy. I was just like, yeah, I forgive him, whatever. It wasn't like a big deal, It was more so like I was angry at Satan. I wasn't angry at the person, and that's something that I think the Lord has done. I thank the Lord for that, because when someone comes at me or someone's angry at me or someone's just like being a bad person, I'm not looking at them. I'm not looking at them physically and being like, you're a bad person. No, I'm like, there's a spirit inside of you that is taking over you, and I'm mad at that spirit. I'm not mad at you, So that's just how I see people. And I'm like, I've prayed and prayed and prayed to have like the lens of Jesus, and that's exactly what like Jesus has continually given me and has just worked in me so well, because again, I'm so hungry for it. So I'm like, ask and you shall receive, and it's true. Like whatever you ask, if you ask with it like full-heartedly and your heart is in a place of wanting to receive that, you will receive it. So I just that's something that I love to express to people and to get them to understand, like, walking with the Lord is not something that you just do once and then you're like, okay, I'm going to live the rest of my life and this is what it is. No, like walking with the Lord is such joy every single day. Like every single day should be an amazing day, should be a beautiful day. You should be a beautiful person to everyone. Yes, you're going to, like, life comes at you, things happen, but that's what community is for. That's what other people are for, to bear one another's burdens. And that's something that I'm super grateful for, is to have a community like that. And that's something that I always try and tell people to seek and to find, is to like have that tight knit group of people who you can run to immediately when something goes wrong, because they will bear that burden and you will feel a lightness, you know, like the peace that surpasses every part of our understanding, because we're not meant to understand it, right? Because God is mysterious. He's like, we can't understand it, but we can live it out. And that was a sacrifice, right? And that's a sacrifice that we get to enjoy and we get to endure like throughout our lives. So a lot of wisdom that the Lord has given me within like this past year of like intentionally following him, and I'm just excited for like what's to come next and all of the things that he's just continually giving me, right? Because I'm like asking for it. So yeah. If you're going through any of the things that I talked about, described about, I would encourage you, highly encourage you, to seek out some type of community, to seek out some kind of church, to seek out some kind of friend who knows, who you've seen has spoken about Jesus, who's spoken about Christ. I would encourage you to go and message them and ask them for more. Ask them what this Jesus is, you know, because Jesus is alive, Jesus is real, and I know at least you've heard it at least once or twice or three times in your life. Like the name Jesus has been brought up to you some way, somehow. And I just want to encourage you to go and seek out after him in whatever way you can. I had nothing. I literally had no community, no church, no one that I knew of praying for me. And all I did was have a conversation with him in my car. I had a conversation with him in my car that lasted about 5 months, and then Jesus did the rest. So if you have absolutely nothing, absolutely no one, I encourage you to just sit in a closed space and cry out to God. And if you can't cry, then just talk to him and just have a conversation with him and ask for whatever it is that your heart desires, and he will grant it for you.